I'm JP Tuesday.
And I'm Kiki Canon. As lifelong Disney fans, the work of countless talented Disney creatives have shaped our lives.
Now, as the Disney catalog expands, we're taking a journey through film and television to discover if that spark that shaped us as children lives on in adulthood.
Does your favorite Disney media still cast that same spell? Join us as we find out. We are Rewatching the Magic.
Hi, Kiki.
In space, no one can hear you say, "Hi, Tuesday!"
Yes, this is our special Halloween episode. And we are not celebrating Halloween alone this week, are we, Kiki?
We are not. Will our mystery guest enter and sign in, please?
You can't see, but I'm signing my name on the whiteboard right now. Hi, this is Devo Spice.
Devo Spice, our very good friend, the man behind FuMP Fest, which we have talked about many times on this show.
Yeah, FuMP Fest, our frequent collaborator and sponsor here on the show. So, yeah, we finally get the man behind all of the fun.
Yeah, the man behind the FuMP, the man behind FuMP Fest, the man behind the comedy rap I do, and the 157 other things that I have on my plate. I have a lot of plates.
Half of them are other podcasts.
Yeah, I do 3 other podcasts. Yeah.
It is Halloween time, and as we said on the show before, Disney as a brand doesn't really do horror, and we really wanted to have a horror movie as our Halloween episode, so we had to dig through the archives of the recently acquired 20th Century Fox library, and we came up with Alien.
That classic Disney movie about the princess in space who meets her Prince Charming, who turns out to be a robot, and it's a mess.
Does the alien count as a Disney princess?
No, I was talking about Ripley.
Yeah, I think
princess.
Ripley absolutely counts as a Disney princess.
I mean, this is a slasher film in space.
Kinda, yeah.
I mean, it goes through all of the tropes of a slasher film, even down to the final girl.
Yes.
So, this is full-on horror to me. That's why we chose it.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it is absolutely. This is a classic. It's always made if you ever see top 50, top 100 horror movies ever made, Alien always makes the list.
So much so that other franchises tried to copy it, because we had the Leprechaun and Jason in space.
Leprechaun in Space is actually a good movie. I don't know if you've seen it.
And I will actually argue that Jason in Space is also.
Oh, Jason X is fantastic. Yeah, that's a highlight of that series. But Leprechaun in Space is. I have no inside knowledge of this, but I have no way of proving it. But after watching it, I am about 95% positive that Leprechaun in Space came about because they bought the rights to a screenplay that was really good, just about space marines and this whole plot of that. And then they said, "Hey, we need another Alien movie. Take this script and put the Leprechaun, or another Leprechaun movie. Take this script and put the Leprechaun in it, and presto, Leprechaun in Space." Because that Leprechaun had no business being in that movie.
Yeah, it was probably one of those Troll 2 things.
Yeah, exactly.
Where they've just bought a script and they went, we need a sequel to something. Yeah. You may be right about that.
Warwick Davis still got paid for it.
The thing about Alien is I really wish I could have experienced it in the context of 1979.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. When I was watching it, I was like, this must have been awesome, in the theaters when it came out. I was too young. I saw it when it came to cable. And oddly, I don't think I watched it since. So I haven't seen this movie in 30 some odd years. So watching it again just this afternoon, it was it's like seeing it again for the first time. But all I could think was this must have been amazing on the big screen in 1970s,
Yeah. I mean, this is before either me or Kiki even existed.
Yeah.
Right.
This was just easy before our time of existence, but this to me, you know, speaking as the only female on the podcast here, everybody now knows this as this is the movie with Ripley in it. You know,
Right.
this is the Sigourney Weaver movie.
Yeah.
In 1979, nobody knew who Sigourney Weaver was.
Right.
Like, we'll get into it, but this was like her first movie ever. She was a theater actress who was cast in a movie. And watching the movie for the first time, if you have no context for this movie, there is nothing to give away that this is her movie.
Yeah, because she doesn't really get many lines during the first part of this film, and you think that she's just a background character. She's
also the youngest person in the cast, I believe. She is the most delicate and, you know, feminine looking in the cast too. There's one other woman, but she's more grizzled looking. Her hair's cut short. You know, she looks more like the men in the cast. In the way she is styled, you know, she looks like she's been through things. So Ripley looks very much like the love interest. If you were going to do like, what is this cast thing? So in the context of the time and from how you know the cast, if you're sitting down to watch this movie and you're a typical moviegoer and you know who this cast is, you're looking at it and you go, yeah, Tom Skerritt, he's going to kill the alien. And that hot chick that nobody knows about, he's going to get the girl at the end.
Yep.
That's the typical moviegoer at the beginning of this film in 1979.
And
have you seen
Tom
that?
Skerritt looks buff in this film. You know, they've got his sleeves rolled up. He's got a little bit of muscle. He's got the manly beard. He's got he's the captain. And Sigourney Weaver is styled very feminine, very delicate with the hair. He's going to kill the alien. He's going to get the girl. They're going to fly off in space. Bob's your uncle. That's the movie, right?
Yep.
Man, I would have loved to have seen this movie in 1979 with no context.
Did you see the review that there was a reviewer named Adam Shafto talked about his wife's review of this movie? This is Alien is a movie where nobody listens to the smart woman, and then they all die except for the smart woman and her cat. 4 stars.
Yeah, I put on Facebook last night, and I mean, you know, basically the same thing. It was like, time to sit down and watch Alien, a movie about the woman who told you so, and a bunch of people who would have lived if they'd have listened to the woman who told you so, except for Kane, who would have always died because Kane is the biggest idiot in the universe. We'll get into it in the plot, but there was never any saving Kane. Let's just put that there. But let's talk about the background of how this movie got made, because it was made by two people who are interesting for different reasons. So yeah, we got Ridley Scott, who has made some of the more interesting films in history. Most people will know him for not only this, but Blade Runner, Thelma and Louise, Gladiator, Black Hawk Down, The Martian. I mean, this man has got one of the most varied and interesting film careers ever. Really fascinating director. This film came about because he saw Star Wars.
I was going to mention Star Wars because Star Wars had just come out a few years prior.
Yeah, this came out, Alien came out in 79, Star Wars came out in 77, and what he loved about Star Wars was that he saw Star Wars and he went, man, that is a future that looks lived in and gritty.
Mm-hmm.
And he loved the fact that it just looked lived in and gritty, and he went, I want to know what's going on with just the workaday people in a universe like that. And so he teamed up with a guy named Dan O'Bannon, who is a screenwriter and also director, and wanted a script that was kind of like, hey, what goes on in a lived-in, gritty universe like that? You know? What's going on in a Star Wars type universe for the rest of the people? And so that's kind of where Alien comes from at its very core. They wanted a horror movie that looked just really, really lived in and real. O'Bannon had made a space film before, but he had made it a comedy with John Carpenter, strangely enough. It was called Dark Star. And it was about a group of people who were on a spaceship that was slowly deteriorating. And it was a comedy, but apparently it originally started out as a horror movie. And so he really wanted to do a horror movie in space. And so now he had the chance to do that. So he took that idea of a small group of people stuck on a spaceship, and this time he got to do it as a horror. Dan O'Bannon is the entire reason why zombies say brains.
Really?
Yeah. The fact that when you think of zombies and you go brains, that is Dan O'Bannon. Because he also wrote and directed The Return of the Living Dead in 1985.
Mm-hmm.
And that movie is the entire reason zombies say brains.
They also say send more paramedics.
They also say send more paramedics. It's a brilliant movie. If you've never seen it, go watch it. It is a horror comedy, and it is both horrific and hilarious. But that is the entire before that movie, zombies never gave a flying flip about brains. By the way, we didn't actually give the warning. I actually censored myself there, but this is an R-rated movie, R-rated podcast. Hide the kids. Yeah, that's your one warning. I censored myself. We're not gonna bother to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Fuckity fuck. There you go.
Don't listen to this with your kids.
Yeah, there you go. If the kids are in the room, they're not anymore. There's blood and gore and F-bombs and titties in this movie. So there you go. But yeah, that movie, Dan O'Bannon is the guy that came up with zombies craving brains. I don't exactly know why he came up with that. There's a reason in the movie. If you watch the movie, there's a reason that they crave brains specifically. But after that movie, it became a trope that zombies specifically crave brains instead of just generic human flesh. So, yeah, thank the writer of Alien for that. And 1985, that's the exact point that zombies began to crave brains. Yeah, it wasn't before that. Isn't that weird?
That's very weird.
It's younger than any of us that zombies crave brains. How bizarre!
And it's so ingrained in the medium.
Yeah. So they got together with a bunch of other people, specifically H.R. Giger, to create the look of the alien, and a bunch of other really cool people got at Shepperton Studios in London. And where most of your other favorite science fiction films have been filmed, and put this thing together with a teeny tiny cast. And
I mean,
there you go. Yeah.
I wanted to talk a minute about the Alien as a franchise, because this is a franchise that still exists to this day, and even getting a crossover with the Predator series.
Yeah,
All
Alien versus
because
Predator.
of
That's also a
one-
video game.
Yeah, all because of one in-joke that the set designers put in. It was not intended that Alien and Predator cross over. That was a set design joke. The set designers just thought it would be funny in one of the Predator movies to have an alien head in the trophy room. And they had one, because one of the set designers had worked on one of the Alien movies, and so they just had it in their prop room. So they put it on the wall being like, hey, people who like both series will see this and they'll be like, funny Easter egg.
Oh, were they wrong?
And the fans went nuts. And they were like, these two film franchises exist in the same universe. It's officially canon. And it overtook everybody's brain meats so heavily that everybody went nuts and just demanded it be a thing. And that's how we got it, Alien versus Predator. It was never meant to be a specific sequel bait. It was like one dude on set making a joke.
They really underestimate nerds.
They really did,
do.
yeah.
Never do that. We will latch onto it and make your life hell.
This movie sort of inspired Metroid.
Oh, really?
Because you got Samus, obviously, and you have Ripley, but the main villain of the games, besides Mother Brain, is the alien named Ridley, as in named after Ridley Scott.
Cool.
Yeah. And of course the idea of the reveal of Samus being a woman.
Yeah.
You've got this big space marine armor and everybody's like, oh yeah, Samus, he's doing this and he's doing that. And then it's like, nope, woman.
And depending on how you finish the game, it's a woman in her underwear.
Yeah.
I never saw that ending, but okay.
I mean, if you have the regular ending, you should just take the helmet off and you see 8-bit Samus, woman, long woman head on the armor. But if you get like the perfect score, you get her in a bikini, much like Ripley in this movie, where she ends the movie in her underwear.
Okay.
I have never finished any game with anything close to a perfect. I am a gamer. I am not a proficient gamer. I have not finished that many games, much less finished them with a perfect score.
All right, so let's talk about this cast. Literally, almost everyone in this movie now considered a legend in Hollywood.
Some of them had pretty good careers beforehand, and some of them were complete unknowns.
So I didn't realize John Hurt was in this film until I watched it again.
You, the Mel Brooks fan, didn't know that John Hurt played the same character.
And the Doctor Who fan, yeah.
Oh, no. I knew it was the same guy in Spaceballs. I didn't know that it was John Hurt who played the Doctor on the 50th anniversary special. And I was like, oh. And I had to look it up to confirm it.
He does look a little bit different in his younger years, yeah.
Yeah, he looks very different, and it's also he doesn't have the goatee that he had when he played the Doctor. So it was like, I would not have recognized him if I didn't see his name come up on screen.
Yeah. Well, let's just start with John Hurt. We have mentioned him before on the show.
Black Cauldron.
Yeah, Black Cauldron. When we did our Black Cauldron episode, we mentioned him. But yeah, Doctor Who fans will remember him as the War Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
If you are a fan of the 1984 film that was made in 1984, he is the star of that as well. He was, of course, the on-screen narrator for Jim Henson's The Storyteller. and pops up here and there in many, many other things. Just left us a couple of years ago, 2017. It was.
And there's a funny story on how Hurt got in this movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, apparently Hurt was the first choice to be in this movie as Kane, but he was already contracted to do another movie that was filming in South Africa. So they went with John Finch as Kane. And then right before they started filming, Finch got sick. While he was dealing with his health issues, he was out. Hurt's movie in South Africa fell through, so now he was available, and now he's back in the movie.
I thought you were going to say he auditioned for it by putting a glove on his face. I'm like, look, I can do the thing with my face. And...
No.
Yeah. That would be fascinating. I heard something ends up on my face. Look. But yeah, he ended up earning a BAFTA for this even. So and reprising the role as you said in Spaceballs.
In Spaceballs, yeah. And when the creature burst out, during that scene, he runs off screen. I just to myself, I'm like, "Hello, my baby. Hello, my."
Yeah, they ended up really kind of boosting his career. He already had a good career. I'm not saying that. John Hurt was well known, especially in England already. But Alien was an international smash. Mm-hmm. So it really did up his career, as it did for pretty much everybody in the film. As the captain of the Nostromo, as I've already said, Tom Skerritt. We haven't talked about him on the show before. He is popped up in a lot of things. He had done MASH by this point, which came out in 1970. He would go on to be in the movie version of The Dead Zone, not the TV adaptation later. Top Gun. He would be in a 90s TV series called Picket Fences that I remember watching as a child. That would get him an Emmy. So there's that. But at the time, he was already known for his role in MASH, especially. But like I said, he was positioned to the audience, at least, to look like he was going to come out of this as the hero. He initially didn't want to be in the film because it was extremely low budget at first, and it didn't have Ridley Scott attached as the director when it first came to him. And so he was like, I don't know, super low budget. You don't have a firm director, locked on it. So he waited until they had more of a budget and Ridley Scott had put his name on it before he signed up.
Do you know what the budget was? I'm on the IMDb page and I'm not seeing it.
The original budget was about 11 million. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The original box office came in at about 106 million, so it made it back.
Pretty good return, especially in 1979 money.
Yeah. So yeah. Like I said, this was Sigourney Weaver's first big film. I'm not sure I don't think this was her first film ever.
Her first leading role in a film.
Yeah, but this was her kind of first film that she was really known for, I guess. I can't remember if she was the very last person to be cast or one of the last, but yeah, she was, everybody else was pretty much in place by the time she was brought on. She was mostly known for theater. She had done Broadway, I think, by that point. And apparently her audition was just fabulous. So that's that's how she landed the role. She got a BAFTA for this one as well.
Nice.
Bless the BAFTAs for being more open to genre films, because the American awards are not really, even to this day, not great for them. Yeah, she was also, I think, the youngest person in the cast. I think she was just slightly younger than Veronica Cartwright, who was the two women, I think, were the youngest in the cast. That was another thing that really gave the film that kind of gritty realness, was that everybody in this cast was a little bit older than you would normally see in horror films. Horror films were very much...
Yeah, you don't get that college age, good-looking people.
Yeah, it's always like teenagers, high school, college, but these were like space truckers.
Yeah.
It's a space trucker film. Everybody's, they're in their 30s and 40s, and they're working for a living, and they're grizzled, and they're space truckers, which I like. And I love the way it gives the edge on the film. You really feel for them as a cast. They're just normal people doing their job, and then suddenly alien.
And these are people with lives. We hear Ripley talking about trying to get home for her daughter's birthday.
Yeah. But yeah, we talked more about Sigourney Weaver's career when we did Holes, and she's a legend. If you don't know her, you got no sympathy for her. Go watch her stuff. Veronica Cartwright is the other woman in the cast. She had a bit of a miscommunication when she was cast. She really, really wanted and auditioned for the part of Ripley. And she got a message from her agent, and it just said, "You got the part." And she didn't realize that it just meant you got the part in the movie, not you got the part of Ripley. So she kind of showed up thinking that she got the part of Ripley, and didn't realize that the part she had gotten was actually Lambert. Oops.
And she apparently hated the character because the character was too emotional.
Yeah, she kind of wanted to be the
badass.
Yeah, the more badass, tougher, take no shit kind of character. And instead...
Yeah. While Ripley is your final girl, Lambert definitely fills the role of a scream queen.
A little bit.
Well, she's the one who gets all the blood on her during that scene.
Yeah. Veronica Cartwright was the one that had more film experience. She had been a child actress. She had starred as a child in the films The Children's Hour and The Birds. Yabbity slabbity now, I went to town to kill me.
The second movie in a row where we mentioned The Birds.
Yeah, the second movie in a row, I actually ended up singing that song. But she ended up being in Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 70s version, Right Stuff, Witch to Eastwick. I mean, she's in a lot of fascinating movies. She ended up being interesting for a couple of reasons. One being that she is, of course, the only other woman on the crew. I think we'll save the other reason for a little bit later, shall we? And we're gonna move on to Harry Dean Stanton. He plays Brett in there. Harry Dean Stanton was a stone cold legend. I don't even know how to begin to talk about his career, honestly. He was in absolutely everything. He was always kind of the old man character actor that's standing in the background in a cowboy hat.
I mean, if you want to talk about the Disney connection, he was in the Avengers.
Yeah, he was in the Avengers.
You got a condition, son.
Yeah. And we did mention him a little bit in that when I mentioned his cameo, but he has the much bigger part here. So Green Mile, Cool Hand Luke, Godfather Part 2, Escape from New York, Christine. I could go on and on. I will not. Go look him up. Always worth your while. Always a treat when he's on screen. As I said last time we mentioned him, we got our evil Bilbo. we talked about Ian Holm when we talked about Ratatouille, but yeah, Ian Holm is back in this. He plays Ash, the spoiler alert android, who is the science officer on the ship and is discovered to be working against the crew. And he's fun. He was kind of possibly the one who had been in the most number of films by the time of this one, because he had already been in 20 films. He may not have been the one that had been working the longest, but he'd probably been working the most. Definitely. So yeah, he was an old hand by that time. And we've got Yaphet Kotto in here as well, rounding out the crew. He is Parker, who is the chief engineer, and his biggest role by that point had been Dr. Kananga in Live and Let Die, the James Bond film.
Cool.
He wanted to be in Alien so badly that he reportedly turned down a film that would have paid him much, much more money. I do not know exactly what that film was, but he said that it would have paid him a lot more money. Interestingly, in a different timeline, Yaphet Kotto would have been Jean-Luc Picard.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was also one of the people who was in serious consideration for that role. So it is interesting to think about the timeline where he would have been Jean-Luc
Yeah,
Picard.
I mean, for the Star Trek thing, I mean, in terms of Star Trek, a lot of people really like Sisko because he was the first black captain, and a lot of people knew Patrick Stewart because of Star Trek. He probably would not have gotten that role as Professor X in the X-Men movies. Yaphet Kotto as Professor X.
Sure, why not?
Yeah. So it is just interesting. Yaphet Kotto sadly left us in March of this very year.
Oh.
So he was 81. He had already had a good long career by the time he ended up in Alien. So the alien was played by a Nigerian art student. This was his only film. He was 6 feet 10 inches tall, and he was cast because somebody saw him in a bar. Somebody working on the film saw him in a bar in Soho and went, "Wow, you do not look proportioned like a human. Could we put you in a suit and make you move really weirdly?" And his name was, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Balaji Badeo. And it really was just because he was very, very slender, very tall, and his limbs were strangely, unusually proportioned compared to the average human. And so they thought that when you put all the prosthetic costume on him, people would not believe that there was an actual human inside of it, that it was a puppet or something. And the last member of the cast is a woman named Helen Horton. interesting Disney connection. She happens to be the grandmother of Lily James, who is the live-action Cinderella in the recent Disney Cinderella film. And she was mostly a stage theater actor in Britain and had a very interesting voice to do the voice of Mother, the computer in Nostromo, the ship. So, yeah, let's dig into this plot and talk about our favorite bits, our favorite happenings. Stuff we like, stuff we hate.
This, like I said, this really goes through a lot of the horror tropes. Like, it's almost like this movie is The Mummy in space. And I'll tell you
keep
why.
in mind, we're talking about 1979 here. This was before a lot of those tropes were established. This movie helped establish a lot of those tropes.
True, but like if you've ever seen like The Mummy, like they enter a tomb and they release the evil, and then the evil goes after them.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
not they. Cain. I need to talk about Cain.
Go for it.
The dumbest person possibly in film history. Cain was always going to die. The rest of the Nostromo, probably they didn't have to die. If they'd have listened to Ripley, probably everybody on the Nostromo makes it out alive except for Cain.
Well, Ash was the one who let him in, right?
Yeah, because he broke quarantine. As we've learned in the last 2 years, you don't break quarantine.
Right, but Ash
well,
was
not all
orders.
of us have learned that.
Ash was under orders to break, well, not necessarily to break quarantine, but he was under orders to get a specimen and was told the crew was expendable. So that's why he disobeyed Ripley.
Yeah, but Ash is not the entire crew.
Right, but he was the one who opened the door.
The rest of the crew continues to not listen to Ripley, okay? There are many points in this movie where if you'd have just listened to Ripley, you'd have gotten out of this alive. Mm-hmm. I agree that Ash being there complicates the problem. You know, there is a android fly in this ointment. We're in the the Nostromo gets woken up. You know, mother detects this alien signal and is like, ooh, an alien, let us go get it, you know. Because Mother, and therefore the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, knows what's up from the beginning. It's pretty obvious.
Are they named up in this movie at all?
Weyland-Yutani? I do not think so.
I don't think that name never gets mentioned, I think, at least until the sequel.
So much of the alien lore is post this film.
Yeah, we never even learn Ripley's
honest.
first name until the second movie.
Yeah.
And she's just Ripley. We don't find out that she's Ellen Ripley till later on.
Yeah, most of the characters are single named.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they're sent to go, find this signal. And so they send the away team, as it were, to go down and look, and they find our first time we ever see the space jockey, which is really cool.
It is.
If you dig into the behind the scenes stuff, the way this thing was painted, it was built on like a rotating platform so that they could put the camera kind of wherever and move the actors wherever, and it would still get the right shot. It brilliant in the way they did all of this stuff. Alien really, groundbreaking gets thrown around a lot, but Alien really was groundbreaking in thousands of ways. Filmmaking ways, storytelling ways, the foundations of tropes, as Devo Spice has already pointed out. But they find this space jockey, and immediately Lambert's like, yeah, okay, I've had enough. Bye. The smart move would be to leave now. Something has burst out of this, and this is where we get the foreshadowing of the chest burster.
Right.
Something has killed the space jockey, let's leave. And Kane is like, hey, I found a creepy cave. Let's go in it. Kane, will go into this creepy cave by myself. And he goes in it. And Ripley's like, I've discovered that this is a warning. This message is a warning to stay away. It's not an SOS. It's telling people to leave. And they're like, oh, well, Kane's out of range. He'll find out, or the crew is out of range. The whole crew. Something in that ship is blocking the signal, right? Ripley's like, we have to find the crew and tell them it is a warning, not an SOS. They are in danger. And Dallas, I think it is like, well, if they're in danger, they'll figure it out.
Because
nobody listens to Ripley. Like, this is point one. That's not even Ash, I don't think. That's screwing them up right now. Like, that's like Dallas. He's like, oh, well, I'm sure if they're in danger, they'll figure it out. But so I may be wrong. That may actually be Ash. I don't remember at this moment. But so point one, where somebody should have listened to Ripley. And Kane's like, I'm just gonna go down into the scary cave and just poke around all by my lonesome, which is already a bad idea. After we found a dead alien which has been murdered by something.
I know, he's just sitting there in his giant video gaming chair playing video games, and all of a sudden he gets, exploded at the chest. That sucks. I hate it when that happens.
Yeah.
Obviously he was hit by a red shell.
Yeah. So he goes down and he finds this laser fog. By the way, those lasers were borrowed from The Who. The band The Who. They borrowed the lasers from The Who.
That's awesome.
True story. Isn't that awesome? But he goes down and he finds this laser fog, and he goes, there's this fog that seems to have a reaction when you break the surface. And I'm like, you mean like a tripwire laser defense system? Like a thing that you shouldn't mess with? Like something that you should run away if you find it? Like a warning system or a defense system or a weapon system? You idiot.
Well, I mean, it's, again, horror movie trope, so it has to be an idiot.
Yeah. Like I said, Kane was already going to die. Then
as they established
it.
in the cabin in the woods, they have to trespass. The people have to trespass.
Yeah, another really good Sigourney Weaver movie. Go watch it.
Yeah.
But then he falls through it, so, he's already toast. And then he finds an egg. And he looks at it and he goes, it appears
omelets.
to be entirely enclosed. Like eggs are. The way that eggs are. You complete fucking moron. Like an egg. Ugh.
There's a life form inside it. I wonder what will happen.
Well, no, like, when do you find eggs and you go, oh, look at this, like, egg that just has holes all through it. Like, no, you idiot. Eggs are enclosed because they enclose things. Ugh. I hate Kane.
Love John Hurt, hate Kane.
John Hurt, fine. I'm fine with John Hurt. I don't know enough about him to love him or hate him, but like John Hurt, fine actor, but Kane deserved to die, and I'm glad he went in a very painful way. Like, you deserve what you got, Kane.
Yep, right in the face. Right, we get the first ever face hugger, and yeah, they want to bring him on, but quarantine. He's been in contact with an unknown alien entity. We have protocols.
Yeah, it's company policy.
Yeah, can we talk about the company for a moment? I mean, we have mentioned the name, but these people really don't want to be doing this, but the company is kind of making them do it. Like, this is
they said they'd lose all their money if they didn't investigate.
And that was a lot of things, like a lot of the characters.
Parker especially is really concerned about his shares.
Yeah.
That is his entire character for most of the movie.
Am I going to get a share even though I didn't go on the planet? Am I going to get my money for this? And it's like, you're contracted to this job. You're going to get money whether you do anything or not. And, there's that scene where he's having this conversation with Ripley over the whole thing. And then
I love that Ripley kind of loses her shit on him finally. She's like, look, you will get your money. Shut up.
So, yeah, of course, Ash
people do forget that this film series was very specifically, I mean, let's just say it, this film series was an anti-capitalist film series from the beginning.
Yeah, and that's what always gets me with these with more modern audiences. Is like, well, when did this series get, for lack of a better term, woke? Because since the beginning, have you actually watched the movies?
Literally the first minute of the movie, yeah.
The whole point of this movie is these people are kind of tied to, if they don't do this mission, they will lose their jobs. These people have families at home. And, as I've mentioned, Ripley has a daughter and she's trying to get home to her daughter, but she has to do this job first or she can't feed her daughter.
Yeah, the point of this film is the company decided every living thing on this ship was expendable in order to get them a biological sample of an alien life. And people kind of forget that.
Because it's never said on screen. Because when Ripley finds this out, it's all written on words on the computer screen.
Well, Ash does repeat it. In the scene where they find out that he's an android, because he attacks Ripley for finding out the secret of his mission. And he tries to kill her, and the crew, Parker, and Lambert come in and discover him trying to kill Ripley. Ironically, in a similar way that the alien facehugger would kill people, because he rolls up a nudie mag and starts stuffing it down her windpipe to kill her.
Yeah, that's
mimicking the facehugger, which I love.
Like, he could have easily gone with the pillow and smothering, but no, we're going...
Or just, he's stronger. It's proven that he's stronger than the humans, because
he takes down Parker, yeah.
Yeah, Parker comes and tries to rip him off of Ripley, and he can't get him off, because Ash is stronger. And so he could have easily just choked her or crushed her skull or something, but he takes a porno mag and starts shoving it down her throat. Dan O'Bannon said that he tried to put in as much violation imagery, let's say, in this film as he could, because he said he wanted men specifically to cross their legs.
So what you have is a male character forcibly shoving a shaft down a woman's throat.
Yeah. And specifically a pornographic, because they end up in one of the men's cabins. I'm not sure whose exactly it's supposed to be, but it's papered with all sorts of pornographic images of women that have been cut out of porno mags.
Probably Brett's.
Well, no, it's probably Brett's. I mean, he seems like that kind of guy, but honestly, it could have been any of them.
True. I mean,
and it's honestly the only time we see nudity in the film, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we do get the Sigourney Weaver butt shot.
Yeah, we do get her in the thin tank top and underwear at the end of the movie, But there really isn't actual nudity of the actors in the film. But there are the pornographic images taped on the wall. They are all over the wall in this scene, and she is being, attempted murder at least, with the magazine, which I find fascinating. But after that scene, when they when they put Ash back together so they can access his memory, they interrogate him on what his mission was, and he repeats what was written, just in case the audience didn't get it.
Yeah. Well, you can't assume the audience can read. That just ends badly.
You're talking to a teacher. I don't assume anybody can read anymore, trust me. But he does repeat it, and he says, Mother revoked all of my protocols. Yeah, I have to get the alien sample, and all other protocols are revoked. I don't have to save any of your lives. You were expendable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a corporation willingly putting their employees in danger for profit.
Like that never happens.
Yeah, especially over the last 2 years.
Completely not their original mission.
No.
Yeah, this becomes so much more believable now. Yeah. Watching this movie in current year 2021, when so many people have discovered that, yes, your job will put you in absolute risk, even if that's not what the job you signed up for. Because this is absolutely not the job they signed up for. It says at the beginning of the film what the job is. They are a tugboat.
Like you said earlier, truck drivers. They take, product from one place to another.
Yeah, and they're just going back home. That's it. This is the end of their mission. They have completed their job. They are going back home.
I tried going back and checking it. I couldn't make out what they were saying of how long it would take them to get home. Several months, I know that.
I thought they said 10 at one point.
10 months. Okay, that sounds about right. So yeah, it would take them a year from where they're at to get back to Earth.
Yeah, and that's why they're in stasis at the beginning, is they're just supposed to sleep it off.
Yeah, and is there some reason they couldn't just go back into stasis for the next 10 months?
Well, they have to do this job. If they do not investigate the stress signal, they forfeit all pay.
Oh yeah, I know that, but once the alien is blown out the airlock, in theory, they could just go back into stasis, right?
That's what I mean.
Well, yeah.
That's what Ripley does at the end of the film, and we'll talk about what happens after that in the sequels later.
Yeah. Yeah, supposedly once they that was their plan, they're going to blow the alien out of the ship and then go back in stasis. The problem with getting to the shuttle is that the shuttle only has room for 4, and since they're so far out, there is not enough, oxygen, food, whatever, to sustain anybody unless they're in stasis.
And that was and that's the big thing, is that they don't want Ripley doesn't want to use the shuttle originally because there's not enough supplies to have them all safe in that shuttle on the way home. So they go with the plan of blowing the alien out of the lock and trying to fly the ship that way. Yeah. Though Dallas does have a good plan at the beginning when they find out that the alien is going through the air ducts, just to cut off all the air ducts, flame them out.
Yeah.
It's a good plan, and then, the alien kind of just jumps him.
Let's talk about how effective that scene is with such minimal visual.
And most of the visual is you looking at a computer screen.
At 2 dots on a computer screen.
Yeah, a 1979 computer screen with a little flashing dot getting closer to the other dot. It's like Pac-Man without the
Yeah, it's like when I was a kid, or a dot, 8 other dots. Yeah.
This movie's older than Pac-Man.
It is. But it is effective because you just see a steady dot and a blinking dot moving closer, and everybody freaking the hell out about it.
Lambert screams, "Get out of there! Get out of there! Get out of there!"
And Ripley being in
scene.
a complete other location, just hearing everybody freaking out. She doesn't even see the computer screen. She's just hearing everybody freaking out. Because she's in a different location doing other stuff to help.
Mm-hmm.
So she's not even seeing what's going on. She's just hearing people screaming and then a screech on the line.
And in that moment when you see, it's one of the few times we see the alien in full, and that's that scream, and then Dallas dead.
Yeah,
it's also the way they shot the alien in this movie is that you really never see the complete alien throughout the whole movie. Like you see like the feet or maybe part of the head, but you
bits
never really
of the tail. Yeah,
bits of the tail, and again, that's also become a trope in horror movies. Where you don't always see the complete monster. It's kind of like Jaws in a way. It's very much Jaws, but done better than Jaws.
Yeah, well, and Jaws did that by necessity because the shark didn't work. But,
Jaws did that by accident.
but it works. It's really effective when you don't see the creature for the longest time. It's really effective.
The interesting thing is that we don't know that what the final form of the alien is going to be, of course. Because at first we see the face hugger. And then we see the chest burster. Mm-hmm. And then we think we are chasing the chest burster. So they've got their little net and they've got their little cattle prod and they're going to find the chest burster. We're going to find a little baby alien. We're going to put it in a net. We're going to throw it in an airlock, shove it into space, and then, go back to sleep, go back home. We're done, And then you've got the little fake out with the cat and everything. And then you've got Brett chasing the cat. And then you get into the shuttle room. And you're seeing bits of the shuttle and you're panning across. And the thing that makes it the most effective is you see him find like the shed snake skin. And if you're smart enough, you're realizing like snakes only shed their skin when they grow. Yeah,
this thing grew fast a lot. And they don't really establish how that's possible because it would need to consume a lot of calories to do that.
Yeah.
That's for the sequels to worry about.
Yeah.
Right.
But the thing is that we know that it's grown, but we don't know how much or what it looks like. We've got no concept other than it's going to be bigger now. So we're expecting something maybe dog-sized or something at biggest. Mm-hmm. We're just expecting it to be bigger. We're not expecting it to be full alien size.
I mean, they could have gone that route and then have the alien grow bigger and bigger throughout the movies. Other similar movies have done that.
Yeah. But the interesting thing is that it's a movie that bears rewatching because when you're watching it the first time, he goes through and he's trying to get Jonesy the cat because the cat's also in the room. And the camera pans across and you can see the alien hiding among the chains and various ship parts. But if you've never seen Alien before, you do not know what you're looking at.
Because the alien is black and blends in with the background so easily.
And you don't know what the final form looks like. even in rewatch, if you're not paying attention, you can miss it.
Yeah.
So it's really effective because only in a rewatch do you actually go like, oh crap, I didn't notice that before. So I absolutely love it because I was watching the rewatch and I was like, oh shit, turn around.
Like, oh, you became that watcher, huh?
Yeah. I love that scene, but you can see that several times, and it really does set you up that by the time you get to the end on the shuttlecraft and it happens to Ripley, you already know before that hand moves that you're like, no, Ripley, don't.
Yeah, this also has quite a number of jump scares for a horror movie in the 70s. You know,
yeah,
like,
mostly involving the cat.
Mostly involving the cat, but it works. But you don't actually see the alien until halfway through this movie. The 1 hour
even get
mark.
to the chest burster scene. Yeah, that chest burster scene comes in at like 55 minutes.
Yeah. They don't even get to the area where the tomb or where we were talking about. That's a half-hour mark. So this movie takes its time, and it doesn't feel like it's wasting time though, because you need that. Like we've talked about this with other films, you do need that time to get people to care about these characters before you start killing them off.
Especially since they're going to subvert the trope so much and make Ripley the hero.
Yeah.
Not just the final girl, but like the badass.
And as we've been saying, as you've been saying, if people actually listen to Ripley, this movie would not even happen. If she's the smart one. She is the one that with the ideas. But
I have a question for Devo Spice, because you said you had not seen this in like 30 years.
Yeah.
So as you're rewatching it, what was kind of the most surprising thing to you where you were like, oh wow, I had not really remembered that? Or
Well, the most surprising thing was realizing that was John Hurt in the movie.
Yeah.
A lot of like the 70s tech, the computer stuff, like they walk into this room when there's just lights all over the place, blinking lights. That's the room where they talk to Mother, and I'm like, okay, each one of those lights must signify something. How the hell do you read that? What is that supposed to mean? But so that was just weird. But that's always like, going back and watching a movie from 1934 that like tries to predict what a space mission will be like in the 1960s or something. I don't know. I mean, it's really well paced. It's very atmospheric, very creepy. I didn't realize how big the ship actually was. I mean, it's big enough that there's dripping water falling through parts of it.
Yeah, there's actually rain on the ship because it's got like a water cycle in one part of the ship. That's right.
For a crew of 7 people.
Sure. Well, I mean, we don't know what their cargo is. They could need it for the cargo.
True.
Did you remember that was Bilbo?
No, but when I saw that, I was like, oh, hey, yeah, okay.
I had forgotten that was Bilbo as well. I was like, oh, yeah, that's right.
It was kind of like Sigourney Weaver was the only cast member I knew going into this.
And as we said, she was the unknown going into this movie.
Yeah.
And now she's the one everyone knows from this movie.
Well, I mean, most of the cast, like, they're so well known for something else. And then you were like, oh, yeah, that's right. They were also in this movie,
Yeah. That kind of happens a lot when you're watching old films. Like, oh, I didn't realize he was in that one. Oh, that's who that guy is,
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's like Ian Holm was a huge star, it's just, but he's Bilbo, it's like,
right, yeah.
He's not Ash the android from Alien,
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing that surprised me most is like how slow a burn it is. Like most of what you remember about the movie is the back half of the movie.
Yeah.
But it does take its time letting you get to know the characters and really caring about the characters and their world, their job, how they interact.
And their relationships to each other.
Yeah.
Like, these people work with each other, and there's a scene where Parker and Brett try to, kind of talk over, or, for lack of a better word, bust the balls of Ridley when they're trying to talk over her. Just, like, this is their...
there was a little bit of sexual harassment going on there.
Yeah. But it's, there's some level of friendship between all the cast, all the crew, because they've obviously worked together for a long time. But again, there's also, we devalue Ridley because she's a woman. We devalue,
Right.
But also, sometimes you do wonder if it's not just that she's a woman, but also she's really young. And it does feel like, even though this might not be her first mission, maybe it's one of her first,
They also don't respect her rank, because she is the third rank officer on this ship.
But she's also a warrant officer, which is always like, it's generally kind of like the lowest officer in a lot of things.
Yeah.
It's always like, you're an officer, but you're kind of like just barely an officer, is my understanding.
You're just the assistant manager. You're not the actual manager.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Like, yeah, you're technically the boss of me, but you're like not really
You're only the boss of me when the boss isn't here.
Yeah. And so when she tells Ash, like, well, now I've got access to Mother, and I'm gonna find out now. Like, you get the sense of, like, yeah, you technically got a title, but you don't have any authority with it until everybody else is dead. And maybe that's why there was some tension.
Probably.
Because you can see that she's not understanding earlier when Dallas keeps deferring to Ash on matters of science, and Ripley keeps saying, like, why are you letting him do that? And Dallas says, because it's a science thing, and he gets to make the decision when it's a science thing. Yeah. Because that's what the company says.
Yeah, we mentioned already, that comes back over throughout this entire movie. Well, the company says this. According to the company, according to the people who pay us, this is what happens.
Yeah. Which I'm kind of on Ripley's side. Like, screw the company. Our lives are on the line out here.
Right.
Are you really willing to die for your job? Apparently Ripley is not.
Yeah, which is why Ripley is the only one that survives. So I do kind of get the feeling that while I'm not downplaying the sexism of what they do to her in a few of the scenes, I do get the feeling that some of it is not just the sexism, but maybe her youth and her kind of middle manager rank,
Possibly.
Could be, yep.
So, but yeah, it does kind of get the feeling that, like, yeah, sexism has kind of...
Sexism still exists in the future.
I mean, they do name the computer Mother.
Yeah.
Which is a little...
Yes, Mother.
It was basically funnier later when Ripley says, "I took the coolant out, Mother."
and then Mother keeps going, like, nope, self-destruct will keep on happening, and she's like, you bitch. You know what? Screw you. I always hated this ship anyway. I'm gonna take my calf and go home. Like,
so And the reason said that Lambert is like the scream queen of this movie is that when they're gathering the supplies to get onto the shuttle, it's Parker that willingly sacrifices himself to protect Lambert from the alien, and all Lambert is doing is screaming, "Run, bitch, run!" And then sacrifice in vain because Lambert still dies.
Which we never actually see. It's just that, like, we see Parker die, and then we just kind of assume that Lambert also died.
Well, even if she wasn't killed by the alien, she definitely died in the explosion.
Well, yeah. But they never, it's one of those things that they never did. Let's get into the other thing about Lambert, shall we? So, it doesn't come up in this movie. And you can argue whether or not this was the original intent for the character, or if James Cameron just came up with this later. And honestly, most people didn't notice it until, like, this year when the Blu-ray came out and you could, pause it on a 4K TV and zoom in. But apparently, Lambert is a trans woman.
Oh, really?
Yeah. In a scene in Aliens, in the sequel, when they are interrogating Ripley over what happened in the Nostromo, they flash up the dossiers with the biographical information of all of the dead of the Nostromo. And when it comes up on Lambert, it says that Lambert was born, and they use different terminology, but I will use the terminology preferred now. Lambert was assigned male at birth, and she went through a gender confirmation surgery at some point later in her life, and now is female. She lives her life as female, and that is her true gender, and
she became a scream queen.
And became a scream queen after that. So, yeah. And it really is only like within the last year since kind of the Blu-ray release that anybody's been able to read the dialogue, like the actual like stuff that's on screen, because it flashes by very quickly, and it's only been when you're able to like pause it in high definition that you can read it. But yeah, apparently ever since Aliens, canonically, it's been confirmed that Lambert is a trans woman. So it is debatable if this was ever the original intention when Dan O'Bannon was writing the script, and when they were, when it was being acted by Veronica Cartwright, when they were discussing this in the movie,
Yeah.
And honestly, it's even debatable if this was like James Cameron's thing, or if this was once again one of the set designers putting in an Easter egg because they assumed nobody would ever see it. Mm-hmm. But they did pull it out and put it in the DVD extras so that it could be read. I mean, it is there for fans to not only find, but, they wanted people to see this at least now.
Mm-hmm. But it just, especially now, considering everything.
Yeah. So you can argue the film at the time for the first Alien film, but I do think a lot of people now have found, I know that there are people in the transgender community that are like, awesome! Lambert was trans. That's the coolest thing ever. One of the members of the Nostromo team was trans. That is so cool, Yeah. Which, if that's you, great. We've said it before, representation where you can find it.
Yep.
We talked about it in my Loki rant, representation wherever you can find it. I don't know if that was in the original plan, or if that's a retcon, or if it even matters. If you want to look at Lambert and be like, hey, cool, that's me, then get after it, I guess.
As you have said in this podcast before, don't yuck somebody's yum.
Yeah.
If that's your representation, more power to you.
Yeah, if you're trans and suddenly you're like, I'm going to cosplay Lambert all day, then I hope to see you at a con, and I want to take a picture with you. That's going to be awesome. But I think it's kind of cool. When I first read that, I was like, that is the coolest thing I've ever read. So, even though that's not my particular representation, I thought it was awesome. So, yeah. I think that everybody's a little bit down on Lambert because,
as I said, even the actress to play her was down on Lambert.
But maybe unfairly down on Lambert was kind of my point, because if a 7-foot tall alien, if you're just tooling around the universe, and honestly, the way that the other movies talk about the universe of Alien, it seems like this was kind of the first time they ever found aliens. You know what I mean?
Well, but if you listen to the crew talk, they talk like there are other aliens out there, because the way they're talking about it, like it's an alien. I'm trying to think of how they phrased it, but it wasn't like they were making a big deal like this is the first time we've encountered an alien species. It's just this is the first time we've encountered this alien species. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a new a never before seen species.
That's the way they phrase it.
All right. Well, we never really see. I mean, the space jockeys, but
yeah, the company seems to know about this. Because Ash is on a mission to get a specimen and bring it back at all costs.
But it doesn't seem like humans are just kind of like chilling with other aliens all the time. It's not like a Star Trek, Star Wars kind of deal, But if I was just like, I just woke up a few hours ago and suddenly there's a 7-foot tall murder alien staring me in the face, I'm not entirely sure I wouldn't be Lambert.
I would just go back to bed, frankly. I just get back in the pod and just out and let it kill me in my sleep if it has to.
But everybody wants to think they'd be Ripley, but I'm not sure I wouldn't be Lambert.
90% of the people will be Kane.
Right.
Most people would be like. We've all lived through the last 2 years. I think more than half of the people would be Kane. You'd be like, Kane, put on a mask so you don't get a face hugger, and you'd be like, I don't need a mask. Masks are stupid. My cousin didn't wear a mask, and he doesn't have a face hugger.
Though I have seen masks shaped like face huggers, and those are
do make those. I was just going to ask.
Okay. Those are pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, but we always want to be, especially when it's a woman. We always want to be like, run away instead of just standing there and screaming. And I've been that person before. Have some survival instinct, but honestly, at that point, where's she gonna run to? I know that like. Yeah, Ripley is maybe on the shuttle, but honestly, like, you're the last person alive at that point. Maybe she just went, you know what, screw it, take me. Like, let me die here. I'm sick of running.
Yeah, Yeah. I mean, we've seen that trope in films too, where the fighter just gets tired of fighting. Just let the battle end, and maybe you're right.
Everybody has a different reaction to trauma. And we see pretty much most of the main reactions to trauma in this film in the different characters.
Yeah, they each has a different fight or flight reflex.
But, fight or flight is not the only reaction. And we're learning that now.
Yeah, some people, I mean,
there's freeze, there's friend, there's all kinds of different variations. And we're seeing that, in this movie, and Lambert's got the freeze.
Mm-hmm.
Parker is definitely the fight. He just immediately is like, give me a flamethrower. I'm just going to go at it.
Would Brett count as friend?
Yeah, maybe.
Because he was kind of going.
He does kind of seem to just, hello, little alien, who is now giant alien. Maybe you are now sentient and will not want to kill me. And then he was kind of dead. So maybe you could call that friend. But,
it's kind of like the person who is cornered by a lion and goes, nice kitty.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, if I was cornered by a lion, that's totally what I would do.
Yeah, I mean, we have talked many, many times on the show about how I will die trying to pet something I should not try to pet.
That's how you die in space, petting a xenomorph.
Yeah, I mean, if I were caught in space and came up against an alien, I would definitely try to pet it or hug it or give it food or something. So, but yeah, the point is that everybody has varying degrees of trauma response, and I do like that we see it among the crew. So maybe get off Lambert's tits for trying to, for her particular trauma response is all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Because until you're in that situation, you don't know how you are going to respond to trauma.
Everyone says, though, I mean, like I said, everyone says that they'll be a badass and fight, but when push comes to shove, more or less they'll freeze or run.
Yeah.
We've seen that already in real life over the last 2 years. When push comes to shove, a lot of people who have, big words don't follow up on those big words.
Yeah. Everybody wants to be Ripley. Everybody wants to be John McClane. Everybody but you might end up Lambert. You might end up Brett. You might end up that little worm Ellis doing cocaine and, being like, Bobby, I'm your savior. And then we know how that ends up.
Yeah.
So don't be Ellis. I'm okay with you being Lambert. Don't be Ellis. So yeah, I really enjoyed going back and doing this rewatch again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed going to see this again, especially since I haven't seen it in so long.
And
it hasn't been quite that long for me. I mean, it has been a hot minute since I'd seen it, not gonna lie. It's been lesser since I've seen some of the sequels.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing. The sequel Aliens that hit cable and was like on repeat on like HBO or Cinemax or one of those stations, and like every time it was on, I put it on and watched it. So like I saw Aliens probably 100 times when I was in high school, just because it was always on and I watched it every time. But Alien, the first one, I saw it like once and then didn't watch it until this afternoon.
For me, I kind of was in the same boat, is that all my memories I thought of was of Alien was of Aliens. It's like, oh, when I was a kid, I watched the wrong thing. I never. So this is sort of a first view for me, but not, at least the first time in a very long time.
Even though I have seen the sequels probably more than I have seen this film, I really do like this film. I mean, there's a reason why I did the dumb parody idea for FuMP this year about this film. Just to bring the audio audience who weren't at FuMP up to speed. We do a thing at FuMP every year called Dumb Parody Ideas, where you just do a short parody idea that isn't really worth turning into a full song, probably. The one that I did, which is the song No Air. Tell me how I'm supposed to breathe with no air. By Jordin Sparks. And very unfortunately, Chris Brown. Boo. Chris Brown is garbage. Do not support Chris Brown. It's tell me how I'm supposed to breathe with no air, so tell me how I'm supposed to scream with no air was the joke. So tell me how I'm supposed to scream with no air. Can't fight, can't scream with no air. Now Nostromo ain't even there. So no air, no air. Based off the tagline for Alien. I have been trying to turn that into a full parody for absolute years. Like, since the second that song hit the airwaves. Since I heard the hook for that song, that was the first thought in my brain, and I have been trying to turn that into a full Alien parody this entire time. And I think that song came out in like 2007 or something. So that is how many years I have been trying to make that a full song, and I finally just gave up and did it for Dumb Parody Ideas.
You ended up being a finalist, so
not for that song though.
But still.
I absolutely love this film, and the first one is kind of near and dear to my heart, even though it's not the one I watch the most. So when we were like, well, we're gonna do a Fox horror movie, I really wanted to do Alien.
And it's a good choice.
So at the end of every episode, we always ask the question, does this film have the quote-unquote Disney magic, but let's just say the magic? Does this film hold up? Devo Spice, you are our guest. Does this film have the magic?
Oh, yeah, it absolutely holds up. This is a classic for a reason.
I'm going to say I'm going to agree. This movie is really good, still good. It's a very slow build, but once it gets going, and it never stops, and it's an amazing movie. Still good after all these years. Yes, definitely the magic.
Yeah, magic across the board. I think that slow build is there for a reason. I really appreciated it. You want to seep in this world and these people and who they are before you really see it all fall apart. So yeah, magic. Much approved. Go watch the movie. It's a good time this Halloween.
So yes, Devo, as a first-time guest, you have the option to make a request for us to watch in a future episode. Do you have your request?
I do. Sticking with the Halloween themes, I want to hear you guys talk about Mr. Boogedy.
Mr. Boogedy. I have not seen that movie in a long time.
Neither have I. And since we got Disney Plus, I've been like, ooh, I should watch that again.
And here we go. This is another first watch for Kiki.
This was a TV.
Seen this one.
This was a TV movie back in the 80s for Halloween. It is going to be a little after Halloween because we'll get to it in a few weeks, because next week will be Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, and we were celebrating it by opening up the Book of Life. Yes. Last year we did Coco for Dia de los Muertos. This year we're doing the Book of Life, and it's going to be very interesting to compare the two Day of the Dead animated movies that are on Disney+.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the Book of Life, but Coco was amazing.
Yeah, and once again, another first watch for me, because we keep running into these things. I swear I watch movies. It's all I do. It's literally all I do.
Sometimes it slips through the cracks.
Yeah.
Devo, do you have anything to plug?
I have lots of stuff to plug. So I have a new song coming out on the FuMP. It'll be up from the release date of this episode tomorrow. So Tuesday the 26th, and it's also in keeping with the Halloween tradition. It's a movie about the classic horror film Pumpkinhead, and I debuted it at Con on the Cob last weekend, and it went really well. This was supposed to be my dumb parody idea for FuMP Fest, and I didn't have time to do anything for it, so I kind of sat this one out. But after FuMP Fest, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do the whole damn song. So now we have a dumb parody idea that I've expanded into a whole damn song, and you can listen to it for free.
Overachiever.
I'll be appearing at Worldcon in December in Washington, D.C. if anyone's going to that. I will be doing a concert or two. I don't have my schedule yet, so we don't know exactly what's happening yet. Otherwise, I'm at devospice.com. I put out an album in 2019 called The Anarchist Joke Book. My other podcasts I do, Manic Mondays, a weekly comedy podcast to take the sting off your Monday mornings. I do the FuMPcast every Thursday night live on Dementia Radio and Twitch with Luke Ski, which is a companion show to the FuMP, which is the Funny Music Project at thefump.com. And then I do a show called The Insider, which is a monthly podcast for my hardcore fans who are interested in, what's going on behind the scenes in the little world of Devo Spice. I keep forgetting Twitter exists, but I am on Twitter at Devo Spice. I'm on Facebook at Devo Spice. I'm on Instagram at Devo Spice. I'm trying to use Facebook less. I don't use Instagram a whole lot, and I keep forgetting Twitter exists. So I'm not on social media all that much anymore, really, which is better for my mental health, but lousy for my promotion and marketing.
But you do 17 million podcasts. So.
I do, yeah. I wanted to mention this other thing because it's alien related and it's so cool, but it's not me. In 2017, there was an anthology book put out called Aliens Bug Hunt, which has 20 short stories in it by 20 different authors. One of them, the one I wanted to point out, was by Scott Sigler, who I know he's a friend of a friend, and he did a short story called Dangerous Prey, which it's a story set in the Alien universe. All of these stories are, and it's official. All these are canon. But this one is from the Xenomorph's point of view, and it is magnificent.
That sounds awesome. Yeah,
so you get to hear how these creatures think and how they see humans, and it's fantastic. So check that out.
Check out Devo Spice and all that stuff. We will be doing Mr. Boogly in a few weeks. Come back next week for the Book of Life, and we will talk to you all then. Bye.
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 Don't let the magic stop here.
Join our conversation online on Facebook at Rewatching the Magic,
Twitter at Rewatch the Magic,
and of course, new episodes every week at rewatchingthemagic.podbean.com.
Remember, the magic is for everyone.
It only stops if you let it.